one actually does it except
so there's
for, like,
actually a strict definition behind.
I think it's only used in like the president's giving his speech and he has for a moment of silence, so 2 minutes. If you're with a bunch of buddies, your moment of silence might be like 20 seconds.
Got it.
Because 2 minutes is like the formal.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Well, we already have some data here. So he's done with his 2 secs. So we can assume that took about 60 seconds.
About a minute.
60 seconds. So that's 30 seconds per sex.
Or it could be a 50-second or 10-second.
That's true. We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know, but it is done. And here we are. Hustle and Horse, please mute your streams at this time if you haven't already. And welcome to the glorious setting of Whirlwind.
I have a proposition.
Okay.
Let's switch player views every 60 seconds.
Okay, who do we start? Okay, introducing the players. We got Hustle bottom right, Horse top right. Who do we start with?
All right, we'll start at the 30-second mark with Horse.
Okay.
And then when it's 1:30, we'll switch over to Hustle.
So, Mr. Horse, what are you up to, my friend?
He doesn't play Zerg. Well, why is he playing Zerg now?
What?
That doesn't make any sense. Why would he be? Well, maybe he wants to be
coached. Horse, he's making us wait. He's picking races that he doesn't play. What? Should I ask? No, I guess we'll just leave it be. Well, if you don't play Zerg, that's fine. We're going to help you be a little bit better at Zerg. So, starting things off, he's making drones. It's good. Looks like an extractor trick. Did he do that okay?
Yeah.
He did that, but the overload just popped out when he did that.
Yeah, he actually must have messed up something earlier.
Yeah, so what are the general rules in the beginning there? If people are...
okay, here's the general rule. Okay. Don't extract a trick.
Don't?
No, don't.
All right, so...
There's like...
But I want to be like a pro. The pros extractor trick.
Not all of them. About half
But my favorite Zerg pro extractor tricks, and I would be just like him, Nick.
Okay, so if you do want to do it, you go up to 10 supply, then you get the Overlord, and then you build the extractor, and then you build the drone, then you cancel it. Right. Don't go if you go to 9 supply, do an extractor trick, and do not go to 11 before you get the Overlord.
All right.
Unless there might be some weird 11 pools, but for standard macro opening.
There you go, Imahorse.
Oh, we went too long. Whatever, we'll do 2 minutes and switch.
So 30 to 2:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do. Yeah, I mean, once we finish the thought, I mean, it's fine. Okay, so on to Hustle.
All right. On to Hustle. Hustle.
How do we do that fast again? Did you hit 2 or 1?
It's one player's vision is one, other one's 2.
Sick.
So you hit whichever one you're not on.
So Hustle, he put a 15 hatch down on Whirlwind.
Yep.
Are you okay with that?
I love it.
Okay.
I don't.
And he sees the hatchery timing of his opponent. What should he be thinking right
now? He should be happy. He should be getting gas right now.
Gas right now. Why?
Well, there's some styles. You don't have to, but I think it's much stronger to go hatch, pull, gas. He knows his opponent went pull hatch. He knows his opponent went hatch before gas.
Right.
So pull hatch, if the person doesn't get Zerglings, is basically the same as hatch pull.
Okay.
But the hatch pull guy can get gas slightly faster, and you have a faster speedlings. And if you have faster speedlings, that means you can get in your opponent's face. And even if, let's say, they have queens or spines, you just sit your speedlings right here, and you can delay your spine crawler. You can delay your wall. You can delay your roach warren, your baiting nest, because your opponent has to cross the map before they attack you, right?
Okay.
So the speedlings that you play greedier, the faster you get them. And also, there's some all-ins you can do.
Okay. What other timing should he be worrying about right now?
He really should move his Overlord.
To be in front of the natural.
Well, to not die to a queen.
Hustle, you need to move your Overlord.
Where's Horse's queen, by the way?
Okay, back to Horse.
Where's his
back
queen?
To Horse. Horse, you need to make a queen.
Where?
Much earlier.
Does he not have a queen?
Okay, so what's the idea behind the queen timing?
The instant your pull finishes.
Instant pull finishes, you're allowed to make queens, so you should make a queen.
Yep.
That should be priority. Okay, Horse? Next time.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're doing fine. Just get that queen up right when that pull's done. It'll help. And guys, we can't be donating Overlords. That's something we can't be doing right now.
Yep. Looks like they're both doing it.
You know, maybe it's just a mutual thing.
Yep. This one will die if the queen stays on, which it should.
They both should.
You might miss an inject timing slightly. It's worth having a couple seconds left, off inject to get it.
So Hustle, or excuse me, Horse, who we're focusing on, has a roach warren finishing.
Yeah, and he built a second gas. So this
Are you okay with this?
I am actually.
Okay.
I am. I'd like to see 2 on each gas, not 3.
Yeah.
He's mining too much gas. I'd also. Actually,
what if a billion speedlings just ran in right now?
Well, he's doing a risky, cheesy build, and ideally he'd have an Overlord here and be Zerging scouting. So ideally he'd be scouting.
Have an Overlord outside your opponent's natural.
Send a Zerging to them to count their drones.
Don't lose that initial Overlord so you can actually see what's going on.
Yep.
So you can be able to prepare for potential speedlings scariness, which would hit right about now.
More important than that, like that you might lose if they do it, but most opponents won't. All right, so more importantly, don't get a Roach Warren and then get Zerging speed like this.
Okay.
The only reason you got a second gas and Roach Warren this early is to do Roach Baiting all-in.
Roach Baiting all-in is the only reason.
And you either would get speed fast and then do it later, or you would just do it with no speedlings, which is possible.
Okay.
A whirlwind, it's probably not a great build, but unless you're mid-masters, you don't care about the map and the build. So
if there's a solid opening I'm looking for in ZVZ at the gold level, what am I doing?
Roach Bane all in.
Just every time.
Probably.
Why?
You can if it's a build.
I want to do a macro game.
We only have to learn the first 5-6 minutes.
Okay.
It's much easier to keep working on your macro. Actually, you get better at macro if you do early time.
See, you've told me that before, and I'm like, Nick, I don't feel comfortable with that necessarily.
So then, I mean.
Well, I understand you're right, but.
Well, no, you don't have to do this build.
Okay.
I'm just saying you said name one build.
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Actually, didn't lose a queen. That was kind of lucky.
Wow. So back to hustle.
Yes. One quick thing is, if you're gonna do a lair build like what Horse is doing, there's no reason to get the roaches this early. A much more efficient defense. Put one creep tumor.
Right.
Evo chamber here. Evo chamber here. Spine crawl here. Third queen there. And it's a much more efficient defense to scout your opponent to make sure they can't attack you before it gets up.
All right. Back to hustle.
Yep.
He's got a lot of banelings coming up here. Overlord spread. I think it's solid.
So hustle's in his opponent's face.
Yep.
There's no wall, so.
For him.
Yes, for his opponent.
For his opponent.
He knows that.
Okay.
So he could just try to run the Banings into the worker line right now.
Yep. Instead of.
Yeah, because right now they're not doing anything, right?
Right.
And he's not making.
So either A, don't make them, or B, when you make them, do something with them.
Yep. And right now he doesn't have speeding, so he can't do any real damage.
Right.
But he can just run into workers, get some worker kills, maybe leave one back at home in case his opponent sends speedings.
Yep.
The other thing is he saw roaches, and he's going lair with his own roach horn. I really like his vision. If I was him, I'd be happy. I put some more guys on gas, but he's got to have more workers than his opponent.
So after seeing the Roach Warren, what are his major goals? What does he know from his opponent, and what is he kind of planning for?
He knows his opponent is making the same unit composition he is.
Yep.
But he knows his build is more streamlined than his opponent. So as long as he stays on top of his macro, he's going to win the game.
Macro as in making sure...
Spending his resources, keeping his drones at the right level. So the downside is he hasn't been doing that. We can see here 1,000 resources for Hustle. His build was more streamlined with the building order, but he definitely was making some mistakes.
So at this point, he has 1,000 minerals. He wants to fix things. What does he do?
Adds a third hatchery. I'd add 2 hatcheries.
2 hatcheries. One in the main.
One macro hatchery. Maybe
and
put it right. You put it close so you can do double injects.
Yep.
And then I take a third base right here.
Yep.
Here instead of here, because it's further away from your opponent.
Yep.
And if you're playing macro, your opponent doesn't have a third base, so you want to slow the game down so you can take advantage of your economy, and so you want to expand away from them.
Okay.
I would not be attacking.
No, just defensive macro,
attacking
upgrades.
With slow roaches is kind of risky unless you know you're stronger.
Right.
Because let's say his opponent has roach speed up by now, which at the 10-minute mark you could easily have. Especially considering he's only on 2 bases. So the roaches, you'd lose all these roaches potentially.
Right.
Otherwise, it's not too bad. The build was great, just better macro.
Okay, fair enough. Should we go back to Horse?
Back to Horse.
Back to Horse. Horse.
All right, so Horse
has a lot of roaches.
Yeah.
Probably not a lot of drones.
Well, he's got a decent amount.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, worker count is probably even between the 2 players.
So third timing he should be thinking about, yes? Because it's a situation where his opponent has a third, he has a lot of units out. Like, I feel like we need a next step here for him.
Yeah, could this be an attack right when he gets roach speed?
Fair enough.
He should be scouting the thirds of his opponent. And what he should do, he should also... Okay, good. He's scouting his opponent's composition with the changing. That's great. So he sees his opponent has a bunch of roaches. That's enough that he can't attack. They have probably fairly similar roach counts. And then the defender's rally will win.
Yep.
So if he can't attack, you either want to attack or get a third base, or preferably both. At this point, like you said, considering he needs third, fourth gas relay, he should be getting a third and some more drones here. It'd be great to have 20 drones per base.
But isn't he scared about this attack?
Nah. I mean, he can build a few roaches, but he should be fine.
So what's important here, from both perspectives...
Macro behind us.
Macro behind us, and how you're kind of taking this engagement. Concave,
There's no roaches in production. There's no units or anything. He's not macroing behind it. That's the most important thing to do in those battles.
Making roaches while those battles are happening.
Yeah,
and that was Horse. That was okay. Now we're seeing the 10 roaches pop out.
Yes, I would like to see more drones, not all roaches.
Because he kind of shoved it away, and unless he's deciding to go for an all-in attack kind of a thing.
And what's very important is he has an Overlord here.
Yep.
Until your opponent gets Hydras out. So you can tell if they're reinforcing behind it or not.
Yep.
And then you can tell, unless... Now, if he built roaches, maybe he wants to go deny his opponent's third. But I don't think he's strong enough to do that. I think both players are roughly even in strength.
Right.
If you're both even in strength, you want to get some drones. There's a generic goal in these games. You always want to be slightly greedier than your opponent. So if you're both the same, add in some more economy.
Great position, by the way, Horse. Good job.
Yep. Very, very, very well done.
So should we go back to Hustle? What do you think? Or
Yeah.
stick with Horse a little
No,
more?
let's go back to Hustle.
Okay. So Hustle right now, he's been trying to do some engagements.
Yes, which ideally he wouldn't have done. He would have drawn up to third instead, knowing he had a faster
Well, can you
third.
do it and then drone behind it kind of a thing?
If you have roach speed, yeah, and you're fast at backing up.
Okay.
But you'd almost rather not trade units, because as the armies get, if you drone up and they build units, you're gonna have a smaller army, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's much better to have 30 roaches versus 35 than 5 versus 10 or
Sure.
0 versus 5, because then each individual one doesn't matter as much. So it's much easier to defend. You can defend a position with less roaches if both the counts are high.
Yeah.
But so that's why he doesn't really want to trade roaches, because he doesn't want to have to replace them. He'd rather jump to third. So I didn't really like that attack too much. But now he's fine to jump to third. Hydras, this is a little bit early to add in Hydras. Unit counts aren't quite.
Well, what's the benchmark we should be looking for as far as mixing in the Hydras?
3 full bases.
Okay. 3 full bases before getting those Hydras
Yep.
out. You can certainly focus on upgrades and whatnot.
And there's a big thing I noticed both these players are doing. They're never droning up their bases to a full amount.
So which would be
20.
20.
Well, technically it's 24, but the difference between 20 and 24 is very small.
Sure.
A lot of people think it stops at 16,
Yeah.
which is why you see some Zergs have 30 more food than other Zergs. Like if watch Hyun play, he always has 30 more food than other pros because he goes to 20.
Yeah.
And it's not. 16, the difference between 16 is that after 16, each drone doesn't mine quite as much as the first 16 drones.
Yep.
But it still is a significant increase in economy. From 20 to 24, you still get a little more economy, but it's not so significant.
Yep.
So you really ideally want to be hitting 20 if you can.
Yeah.
Now, if you have 3 bases, if you have all 6 gases, 6 on each, that's still an okay economy. And ZVZ, you probably don't even want to go to 20 on all of them. But when you're on 2 bases and it's a passive game,
Yeah.
you do want to do that.
Because you got to be careful, because like if your main starts mining out, you know, it might
Yeah.
not be as worth it to have as many drones in your main base.
Exactly.
And then you could just have a lower drone count. If the game's a little bit slower, expansions are getting taken a little bit later. You don't need. That's why in PvP you see a lot of Protoss players take around 50, 55, 60 probes in some crazy games where like the expansions are really delayed, because you simply don't need that many probes. If you're not on 3 base full saturation, you don't need that many probes. So kind of identifying how many mineral lines you have is actually pretty important at this stage in the game.
Exactly. Zergs and ZVZ are typically have that 3rd base up fast enough.
Yeah.
And for example, he's never saturated his main base the entire game. So ideally, he would have been a little bit faster about that.
Okay, so game plan at this point for Hustle, are you generally agreeable with it?
I'd like to see him take a 4th base. Otherwise, yes.
Okay.
General game plan is great. Roach Hydra. But again, you always want to be slightly greedier than your opponent. Be a base up. I like the upgrades.
Yep.
2-2. Starting to go Hive now. It's not bad. Hive is fine. Adding in Infestor is not bad either, so I like it.
All right, back to Mr. Horseman. Mr. Horseman, how are you doing?
All right, so Horseman, the same problem Hustle. Actually, he's even a little better in drones, but remember, like I'd like to. This is the point where you actually want to undermine your main. You'd much rather mine your 3rd aggressively than your main aggressively. And the reason why is because your 3rd won't mine out as fast. You still have 3 mineral lines going on. So that's a fairly minor detail. Otherwise, I like it. He's got Hive going for 3/3 upgrades, getting some infestors. Creep spread, I'd like to see some creep spread. And then once you have the creep spread out, you could probably afford to, I don't know, I mean, you might want to start getting some spines into bases.
Yeah. So what do you think about these Lings in this composition here?
I actually like the Zerglings, but not in the army.
I agree.
I mean, I don't particularly love them.
Looking
but
for counterattacks and stuff?
Yeah,
like if you have them, maybe not just chilling with them in your main army, send them around.
Have one patrol between
Yep.
all these bases for hidden. Just
Abuse
one
that
Zergling
mobility.
patrolling these 4. Have another Zergling in the middle. If it dies, send another one. Just who cares? It's Zergling.
Hey!
Eh.
Okay.
That's a Zerg mentality.
Okay, fair enough. Fine.
And then also the rest should be denying this space.
Sure.
Would it be great, actually, if you have them and you're wanting to trade them off? Okay, right now, Zerglings to the 3rd. All the Zerglings there.
All of them to the 3rd.
Yep. And your Roaches and
in their army, they're not going to do a terrible amount. They're
Yeah.
going to be nice tanking, but they could be much more valuable doing other things.
And the problem is they don't tank as well as you think they do.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is you're tanking damage from Roaches and Hydras in the back of their army.
Yes.
That wouldn't even be shooting
Your
if you didn't
army
have the
anyway.
Zerglings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so engagement here, concave. It's all
Great.
concave, and
Great for Hustle.
Hustle's getting the better end of this bargain here. Spreading out those units, getting those fungals. Horse, you're bunching up a little bit in this choke. You don't want to be this choke point.
And he's also. Yeah.
You don't want to engage in this choke point.
Yeah. What you want to do is you want to back away. Then when your opponent chases you,
It's
you hit him right
typical
there.
tactical decision making here, where you want to have the better concave. You want more of your units attacking his units. That was a situation that reminded me kind of Ghost User versus Nestea.
Yes.
Recently, where Nestea set a trap literally, and Ghost User's like, oh, I have an opening, and then Nestea just swallowed him up from every single angle.
Yep. One quick tip, if you're in that situation, you have a bunch of infestors, you're stuck in a bad spot. Let's say they fungal you, so you can't back up, you're already messed up. Throw down a whole bunch of infested Terrans. The reason why fungals are better than infested Terrans in these ZVC battles, the main reason why, is because if you throw out all your infested Terrans, your opponent can retreat, and then you wasted energy.
Sure.
Right?
But if they're sticking around...
Yeah, and if you're in a situation where, like, you're actually going to die unless they retreat, it's a good way to get them to retreat.
Ah.
And it does suck. You end up losing a bunch of energy.
Sure. But you're not losing the game.
Yeah.
And you can try to leave some room for you to come back a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You can preserve your army. Your army is more important than your infestor energy.
Yep.
And if you have 5 infestors, you throw out, you know, like, like 60 infested Terrans, or no, I don't know, 30 infested Terrans. Right. That's reasonable. 30 infested Terrans. That's enough that it should force your opponent back, unless you put them all in one giant clump and they both get double fungled. Right. So try to spread them out some.
All right, awesome. Hustle and Horse, thanks for playing. Top 3 things that Hustle and Horse might need to think about going forward.
Okay, so number 1 by far is...
For both, was the drone saturation?
The drone count, yeah. Make sure you drone up your bases unless you're trying to attack your opponent. Both players are playing a fairly passive game. That's number 1, is drone up your bases.
Yep.
Number 2, make your build orders a little bit smoother. Only build buildings when you need them. And to make your build both streamlined and safe, you need to get those overlords placed around the map in the early game, so you can tell if your opponent's rallying out units, if they're droning up, if there's roaches crossing the map. You really have to have those overlords at basically wherever your opponent could send units. Catch them right when they leave the base.
Right.
And then number 3,
I think we do for Horse at the very least. Positioning in battles,
yes,
is going to be a major issue, especially in ZVZ. And kind of the idea behind making units as the battle's going on.
Yes.
Remember, we had that moment in the beginning where he had that engagement in the middle of the map. We didn't see any roaches in the production tab.
Yeah, or drones or anything. Yeah, whatever you want, you should be. Number 1 thing you do in battle is make sure you're in a decent position and attack move. Always, that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do before any micro is you macro up. Unless you're maxed out, then you wait till you lose some units. But if you're not maxed out, you re-macro. The number 3 is you start using your cool abilities, your fungals, your infested Terrans. You might dance some roaches or whatever micro you want to do that's fancy.
Yep. All right, there you go. Hustle and Horse. Thanks for playing. Hopefully this was beneficial to you. The YouTube VOD will be available a little bit later, so for your full game commentary, definitely check that out. But we need 2 more people that we need to have play each other. So go to channel MLG on the North American server, and we'll be back with another game after a quick break.